All right. Welcome back to another episode of Pain Points. I cut that on the break there. That was good.
That was tight.
Back with my main man, Samson Jagoras.
What's up, bro?
Here with you guys to talk about the ever changing. Wow.
The unleavened bread. What are you talking about?
We're here to talk about the unleavened bread of business. No, we are here because every Tuesday we get to lock in with you guys and talk about the ever-changing landscape of entrepreneurship. And we cover all things entrepreneurship. So today's rundown, we're going to talk about President Kamala Harris. Who would have thought that one?
Yeah.
We got that on the docket. We got Vivek talking about that very prospect. We're going to talk about some changes coming down the pipe for Congress with trading of stocks.
It's insider trading.
Yeah. You know, I didn't want to put the implicit in there, but we got the first election that has not had a Bush, Clinton, or Biden. Some significant accounting errors that you made me aware of that you have for the audience. We got Microsoft talking DEI. I don't know what that was, but it fits. We got Metro. We got housing prices coming down in 47 out of 50 metro cities. We got Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson going viral online already, and the interview hasn't even dropped. And there's something really important in there that we learned about Elon Musk. We got a really crucial post from yours truly, Samson Jagoras, on Larry Fink, that it's really pivotal that if you are an entrepreneur, you listen to that part of the pod and you share it, because this is going to be really important. And then we got several other things, but as always, we kick it off with our top five.
Well, your top five.
Yes, my top five.
To be determined if they're worthy. Yeah,
so this one is, you know, when you and the bros go to the gym, this is how you know you got real friends at the gym.
Oh, no.
Calling for a spot. Messed up his whole set. Look at him.
Oh, he's messed up.
He's done. He can't even do it. But that's how you know that's that gym culture for you, because he didn't get mad, right? He didn't get mad. He wasn't like, well, he laughed it off. All right, this one is Irish grandpa has a funny recording for his funeral. I don't know if you've seen this one yet.
Hello?
This is an old one. I've actually seen this.
Hello? Let me get the fucking bag in here. Who the fuck am I? Is that priest I can hear? Let me out. Hello? Stop the mask. Stop, I can hear you. Hello?
He was probably a funny guy while he was alive too.
Yeah,
it was his final set.
I love that. You can pause it. The audio is harder to hear, but I love the contrast in the heartbreak, the laughing. You can see people just laughing and crying. All right, what's up? What we got next here? Okay, so this is a compilation of
Kamala Harris word salad.
Kamala Harris word salad, courtesy of Greg Price off of X.
He even spelled it wrong. He said world salads.
I love the caption. He says, "I apologize," or "You're welcome." So,
as we all know, elections matter.
That's good.
And when folks vote, they order what they want. And in this case, they got what they asked for.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time.
I am here, standing here on the northern flank, on the eastern flank, talking about what we have in terms of the eastern flank and our NATO allies.
It is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't know.
We must together work together to see where we are headed, where we are going, and our vision for where we should be.
She is far from charismatic.
As a moment, yes, to together address
just a
the
few
challenges.
more seconds of this.
We have the ability.
It's like watching a bad date.
Unburdened by what has been, and then to make the possible
possible.
actually happen? What is at stake at this very moment?
That's just
What is
see
at
Donald Trump
stake this
roaster?
very moment?
Commander in Chief. All right,
Are
let's
some
pause
of
it.
Donald Trump said, "The United States are united. In order to unite them, we must unite the states."
All right, last but not least.
I like you because you're silly.
What I told
Because I
my
know you're smart, right? Especially now they know you're a little autistic.
name, and I'm so smart. Name any two numbers.
7 and 36.
Heard of them. So
He walked right into that joint.
Yeah, he did.
All righty. All
That's
right.
funny.
Yeah. As always, that's just the right way to kick this off.
It is pivoting off some humor. These are some foods for thought.
Yes, bring it.
So, Cole, you want to pop this first one? So I saw this last night from Nick Bilton. It said this was the first election that hasn't had a Bush, Clinton, or Biden on the ballot since 1976. They all started running in 1980. That is crazy.
That is wild.
So I don't know what that means, but
I think, what does it show you, though, right?
it shows you that they've been trying to have control over the game for a minute.
No.
One of the comments down below from Anton Becker says, "You're assuming there won't be a Clinton on the ballot,"
Which is, talks of Hillary has been floating around.
Correct. Yeah.
That is a very, very significant statement.
So just eye opening. I
Yeah.
think people forget every 4 years if they didn't get elected, who was runner up, who was in the running. And so that was very interesting. Yeah. And then the next one I saw blew my mind. So this is a guy I know, his name's Adam. He is a Bitcoiner. He lives in Denver. So shout out Adam. He posted this and it's talking about, well, I'll let you listen to it and then you tell me.
Following up from some announcements earlier this year, during the department's regular oversight of our execution of presidential drawdown authority for Ukraine, we discovered inconsistencies in equipment valuation for Ukraine. In a significant number of cases, services used replacement costs rather than net book value, thereby overestimating the value of the equipment drawn down from U.S. stocks and provided to Ukraine. Once we discovered this misvaluation, the comptroller reissued guidance on March 31st, clarifying how to value equipment in line with the financial management regulation and DoD policy to ensure we use the most accurate of accounting methods. We have confirmed that for FY23, the final calculation is $3.6 billion, and for FY22, it is $2.6 billion, for a combined total of $6.2 billion. These valuation errors in no way limit or restricted the size of any of our PDAs or impacted the provision of support to Ukraine. And while the DoD retains the authority to utilize the recaptured PDA, this has no bearing on appropriated USAI or Ukraine PDA replenishment funding approved by Congress.
So to sum that up, an accounting error responsible for giving President Zelensky and Ukraine $6 billion of unintended funds. He says, nobody in government gives a damn if you can take care of yourself and survive. This should be evident by now. So basically, they looked at the replacement cost versus what the actual value of that equipment was. I don't know why that matters, but I would assume that they're using that as collateral. And so that was the difference. The cost of replacing all that equipment would be $6 billion versus what they actually had. So I don't even know how that's possible.
Yes.
When you're sending that much money to a country like that?
Well, not only that, you have the history of this administration that you should be taking into account, right?
Right.
Debacle in Afghanistan. With as much skepticism that people have had about this situation, you would think excellence would be the standard when dealing with their money.
Right.
Quote unquote, their money. Stuff is embarrassing at the end of the day. It's embarrassing. And it just goes to show you, like,
yeah,
we're going to reap what we sow.
It's also a byproduct of the money not being real, in the sense that they can just print it on demand,
right? Or
it's just zeros and ones in a computer. So that's part of the problem too. Is you would take more consideration if the dollars were limited in supply and backed by a very specific amount of gold, for example.
Correct. Responsibility, man. Okay, so. Kamala Harris.
Yeah, talking about administration.
Yeah, let's jump into this one. So it's shaping up for Kamala Harris to be the Democratic nominee. Excuse me, I'm fighting a sneeze here that's coming on. She's shaping up to be the Democratic nominee now that Biden has officially ended his bid at re-election, and people are getting behind her. So in 2 days, Kamala Harris has raised over $100 million in new funds. So check out these are some.
And all of the funding from the Biden campaign thus far has been pivoted over to her.
I'm not sure how it works.
I saw that. So that's part of where that money's coming from.
So this one comes from Mark Caputo. It says Harris raised $100 million in the day after Biden dropped out of the race. It was actually really over a 2-day span, but the numbers are staggering. $100 million between Sunday afternoon and Monday evening. Team Harris has more than 1.1 million unique donors since Sunday, with 62 of them being first-time donors. On the organizing front, we're seeing a surge in organizing with 58,000 individuals signing up to volunteer with the campaign between Sunday afternoon and Monday evening. That is more than 100 times an average day for the campaign. And then it goes on into some other things, some other details and people involved and who will be joining them at events and stuff. But that's pretty significant. And why I bring it to the pod this morning is just because for me, when I think about us as entrepreneurs and I'm looking at this, it's just so funny how this stuff happens. You go from people questioning everything with Joe Biden, basically forcing the man out. Now we got this new resurgence with supposedly 1.1 unique donors, many of them first time, somehow just coming out of the woodworks. It's just an interesting thing. It just shows you where we are, man, because nothing about this woman's track record in public displays as the vice president should give any of them confidence with their dollars that she's capable of doing anything, especially going against Trump.
Right.
But it's this machine, man.
There's been, ever since the attempted Trump assassination, they have been strategically leveraging that to distract from Trump and do everything in their power to try to shift the focus over to the Secret Service, failing to do their job. Like even AOC was on board with that, right? The interesting thing too that's been floating around is the quote unquote statement from Biden was released on non-presidential letterhead, which suggests that wasn't even real. It was more manipulated as an attempt to force the hand that they wanted, which is, hey, you're out, Kamala's in, and we're not going to pivot all these funds and support over to you in an attempt to try to save ourselves, right?
Yeah, and you see this media machine like pumping up. The people are excited. She's got more money than Trump. People are, they're ready. They want to see a Kamala presidency. It's like, really?
Yeah, and then you follow that up with everything that happened last weekend,
right?
With the airlines, Microsoft update, CrowdStrike, which just so happens to be the same company that runs all the ballot voting system. Their servers happen to be conveniently located in where? Ukraine. That's weird. So there's all these things that are happening consecutively, and they're happening more frequently and aggressively that I'm running out of conspiracy theories to believe in. So I'm looking for some new ones.
Yeah. I mean, I think right now it's just the courage. Why I even bring it to our audience today is because we have to continue to have this conversation, because don't stand by and watch this marketing experiment roll up on you and don't say anything and just quietly be, I'm still going to vote for whoever. But I think it's really important that we continue to have this conversation of, well, why? Why would these $100 million float there? Why would 1.1 million unique people start to support her? Do you know any of them? It's time to have some conversations with them. And
did you see the post from Bill Mitchell? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You have it up here. Awesome.
Yeah. So he says, Bill Mitchell on X says, you know how I said the Kamala surge in donations has laundered Ukraine bucks through ghost donors? Tell me if you believe the following is organic. Harris's campaign revealed that more than 888,000 grassroots donors had contributed, according to Axios, which is a credible publication for data. Out of this number, 60% were reported to have been first-time donors during the 2024 presidential election. Another 43,000 people had vowed to make recurring donations to Harris's campaign. So, 60% of Democrat donors had never donated to Democrats before. LOL, what? Where did these people come from? They weren't part of the 81 million in 2020 that were for Joe Biden. This means that 888,000 donors average almost exactly $100 per donation. Sure, nice round number for such a huge donor pool. So 888,000 donors with 528,000 giving for the first time. Do you ever believe that? I don't.
Yeah, law of probabilities in math is generally a pretty big tell. And so that's just oddly convenient. So at this point, I don't put anything past them.
Right. Yeah, dude, it's just, we just got to keep talking about it. That's why we bring it to you guys today. Vivek makes an interesting prediction that just will correlate that, and then we'll get off the Kamala Harris ticket because we won't drag this one out. She's doing enough dragging of her own. So
the thing about dragging is you got to drag it if you want to pull it.
When you drag something, it moves,
and then it gets drug. It's just like,
let me stop this board. It becomes too much, man. It's just nonsense. All right, Vivek makes a prediction about this Harris ticket that is a very interesting one that we just need to notch on the record books just in case. I don't have a link for that one. Well, you don't?
You do.
Look in the. I'll shoot it to you.
Oh, my bad. Is this the next time?
No, you're good, brother.
Yeah.
You good? You good? I wish I had a Trump impersonation. I got to work on my Trump impersonation. All right, so Vivek Ramaswamy, political hotshot now, who's
here's my prediction real quick.
Yeah.
If Trump wins, Vivek will win the next election.
Think so, huh?
Yeah.
He's going to be probably in his cabinet, so.
Yep.
So, all right, so Vivek here, courtesy of Josh Dunlap on X.
So look, I say this as somebody who a year ago predicted Joe was not going to be the nominee. I'm going to predict that Kamala Harris is not going to be the nominee either. And the reason is if they get one shot, they're going to take their absolute best shot that they can.
Who is it?
That's clearly not Kamala
Who's
Harris. Well, look, I think there's a lot of open possibilities. I would not write off the possibility that it ends up being Michelle Obama. She checks off the same identity politic boxes, and it's going to be somebody who's maybe above the fray that doesn't create the same kind of infighting that could debilitate their party.
So Barack,
the reality, Sean,
Barack is literally leading the charge, trying to keep his, keeping plausible deniability, and then his own wife takes over. What do you call that?
I think you call it realism. Sean, the reality is they're going to take their best shot. They waited till after the RNC convention. That timing is optimal for them because it gets closer and closer to the eventual election. They're going to drag this out, I predict, through the Democratic nomination convention at the DNC in late August. I think Michelle Obama is not off the table. But you know what our message is? And I know President Trump would agree with this as well. Our message to the Democrats is, you know what? Put up the best possible ticket that you can. That'll be good for your party. It'll be good for the country. And it doesn't matter because we're still going to win because our vision for this country is the stronger one for all Americans. That's how we win. It's not fair, of course,
in 56
but the
days.
reality is, Sean, we have to defeat this.
Let's pause it because Hannity be tripping sometimes.
Yeah. He likes to get off on a rant because it's his show.
Yeah, dude. So, but I thought that was just an interesting take because he's been watching this. He hasn't been afraid to make statements about what's going to happen. Hasn't necessarily been right all the time to the T, but he makes them and he calls it. He basically is not afraid to say, "Look, here's how it's going to play out." So I just appreciate that.
Yeah, he's using strategy and thinking like they would think to figure out what they might pull.
For me, one of the things I think about is have you ever took a step back and think about how this is like a bad movie or a comic book? The way all the stuff continues to play out, where it's like these guys over here, the fighting force.
I think the one thing that they're missing out on is every candidate, like Michelle Obama, just lacks the ability to unify and lead, right? So Hillary Clinton, same way. Kamala, same way. Their biggest challenge right now is just a lack of leadership ability. And anybody who thinks that they've done a good job leading thus far is
just lying to themselves.
They're just asleep. I mean, I wouldn't even say it was good necessarily or it was bad. It was just apathetic in doing what was in the best interest of the party, not necessarily what's in the best interest of the American population, Yeah. So that's the bigger issue at hand. And I don't know if they have a good comeback for that.
Yeah, no, they don't. I mean, because the actions speak louder than words, right?
Correct.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so, it's something that was brought to my attention. One of the listeners told me that every time we transition, we say so.
So.
And so.
You say so. I don't say so.
It's therefore, I'm going to work on that, guys.
Therefore.
And up next. All right. Senators propose a bill to prevent Congress from trading stocks. That's our next story here on the docket. I really wanted to say so. So that's why it came out. I jumped right into it. But I appreciate the feedback. This lets me know you guys are listening, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, we do listen to our own stuff and try to get better. Sometimes I catch myself saying a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so this comes from the typical liberal and DC Drano on Instagram, and it is a clip from yesterday, circulating yesterday. I don't know the Congress members in charge of this, bringing this forth, but I believe Josh Hawley is a part of this and a few others.
So I'm pleased to announce today that we're going to be taking what I believe is a historic step forward on legislation that will ban members of Congress from trading stocks. Senators Merkley, Hawley, Ossoff, and I have come to a bipartisan agreement on legislation. And as chairman of the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, I will be putting this legislation on our committee's next markup later this month, which right now is scheduled for July 24th.
What do you think about that?
I think it's great. More importantly, though, I think we should be pushing for term limits on Congress, because right now they're the only political position where you can just remain in perpetuity. So that's a bigger issue. But they do have access to information that the general population does not. I think other things that Congress should not be allowed to do would include the ability to impose tax or legal or financial constraints to the American population that they don't have to participate in. They are free from paying taxes. And so this is a good start, but it's just the tip of the iceberg.
So we got to get you on a ticket. So if anyone's out there forming the ticket that's going to help this country, Samson Jagoras is a viable candidate.
Well, I would actually encourage you guys to go dive deep into the Convention of States,
yes,
which is the only alternative to Congress. Convention of States is when they basically call a meeting where you have 38 of the 50 states come together and vote, and Congress is not allowed to participate. And the biggest things on the docket for the Convention of States movement is term limits and some of the things that I just discussed.
Yeah. One thing to note about that bill that's on the table on the 24th is that it does include spouses and children. So that was a lot of people's questions and concerns in the comments.
Yeah, that's good, because I think Pelosi's always done it under her husband's account, right?
Yeah. So, hey, so those are good wins. Those are good wins that, but I think that comes by way of us putting the pressure on these people. Like, this is nonsense. You shouldn't be able to do this stuff.
Well, I would venture to say that most people are asleep at the wheel, though, because the things that I just laid out in front of you, like their ability they don't have to pay taxes, they're not subject to the same tax laws that they're passing, insider trading and things of that nature, they're just heads in the sand, right? So entrepreneurs are probably a little bit more informed. The general population is definitely not informed.
Well, we've kind of offloaded that to Washington, right? When you have a society that continues to just
the government will take care of that.
Yeah, someone else will take care of it. Someone else. My vote is this thing. When you don't understand the whole part about the republic being kept by you and I, it allows for space to come in between those decisions being made in you. So
right.
Yeah. All right. So, dude, I did it again. Thank you for making me aware of it, guys. In our next story on the docket, we got you brought this forward. It's about Microsoft laying off a DEI team.
Yeah, I thought this was incredibly interesting. But Microsoft laid off their DEI team and wrote an internal email blasting how DEI is no longer business critical. And what I found most interesting about it is, at the root of Microsoft is Bill Gates. And Bill Gates will do whatever is convenient to him making money. He doesn't really care whether it's go green, whether it's veganism, whether it's DEI. He's doing whatever he needs. But I think it's also a tell for where we're going as a society. And that is that this whole movement has gone so far extreme that it's almost gotten to the point where it swung the other way, right? To be a white guy is like evil now. And so it doesn't matter if you're better skilled or more qualified. I have to hit this DEI quota. So that's the most important thing, right? And so that's the problem. So it's just, I don't know if there's much to really say about it other than it's very interesting that a major publicly traded company would come out and start the kill the DEI movement.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of brief points here bulleted from the Insider article. Microsoft laid off a diversity, equity, and inclusion team, citing changing business needs. The move follows commitments made by Microsoft and other tech firms after the George Floyd protest. And then a Microsoft spokesperson says, our DEI commitments, D&I commitments remain unchanged. I didn't know if it was a typo or not, but I guess it's not because diversity and inclusion. Just remove the equity part so people don't have to worry about that. They remain unchanged. And maybe scroll down a little bit and see if there's something we can grasp. Okay, so one quote that comes out is a direct quote from one of the team members wrote, "True systems change, work associated with DEI programs everywhere are no longer business critical or smart as they were in 2020. And this is what a leader of the team wrote in an email sent to thousands of employees.
What does that even mean? Well, how is it business critical 4 years ago?
Or smart 4 years ago?
I don't understand.
Well, I mean, millions of people have said this is nonsense, right? So anytime you're moving beyond the merits and capacities and capabilities of the individual as to these tertiary, secondary, non-existent markers, it's not smart. And it's not business critical unless it's in line with an agenda.
Correct.
That's the only way. So, and you don't want to be on the outside taking shareholder hits because you can see the agenda. And so now that it's pivoting, now that we're looking at potentially a Trump White House, it's no longer business critical. Right. So that's all it is. It's just the revealing of what was really going on behind the scenes.
Right.
And so shout out to you guys out there who have been leaning and leading on your values, not worrying about this mess, looking for the best people to contribute to the mission you are on.
Yeah, I remember when I was hiring at the marketing company and, people were banging the table saying, we got to hire more black people. I was like, look around, they all work here. We're in like one of the whitest parts of the country, you being one of them.
I got 7 out of the 10 in town.
Yeah. And
we're at 70%.
It just always blew my mind because the job that we were hiring for, you couldn't really go to school and learn it, like to learn marketing at the level that we did. So we were looking for intangible skill sets, right? Which was humble, hungry, smart, gritty, competitive, extreme personal accountability. And so structuring an interview, I didn't really care what your resume was. I didn't even care if you got a marketing degree. If you had those intangible skill sets, then you were like coachable and you could come in and learn under the training program that we built and you could be kind of raised up inside of the ecosystem.
Facts.
So the appearance of DEI versus like actual diversity, equity, inclusion, which is I didn't even look at people's resume. I was looking for intangible skill sets. That's actually what's most important.
Right. Which would actually be DEI.
The ideal diversity, equity, inclusion, right? Is like, hey, you didn't go to school for this. You didn't even go to college, but you have these other intangible skill sets, which we know profile well for people in sales, people in marketing, account management, social media, et cetera.
Right. Which is how it went. So
correct.
So much for that. Sorry for you guys being fired, but you can move on to a company that will appreciate your skill set and put you exactly where you need to be because of what you bring to the table.
I actually wonder how diverse, equitable, and inclusive that group was that got laid off.
It'd be interesting.
That'd be super funny.
But choose a team that is going to value you for your ability to contribute to the mission.
Right.
Not whatever, got you the shot or I don't even know, man. There's so much nonsense around this that is destroying people's lives and it's just their professional pathways and just so many different things are being wrecked in all the name of all these secondary things. It's satanic, man.
And it's just a sign that we are in the trough of the transition for the way things have been done for the last, it's gotten the worst in the last 20 years, I would say.
Yeah.
You could see it coming when I was getting out of school circa like 2008. And then it just progressively reached its maximum climax in the last 4 years, for sure.
Well, this DEI initiative, people that got laid off, people getting laid off, because this won't be the last thing that happens. They're going to have some decisions to make, and many of them are thinking about buying homes. But, well, it turns out that in 47 out of 50 metro cities in the United States, 50 metro cities, of the 50 metros, they're seeing an uptick in home listing price cuts. So more housing prices being cut.
Yeah, there's been a bit of a standoff between interest rates and price for the last couple of years, really. And we're seeing homes sit for longer than they have ever sat before. And so if interest rates, I think everybody was holding out for rate cuts, thinking that would stimulate activity. And when you're sitting for 365 days, all of a sudden you're going, okay, I need to move the property. So interest rates are not coming down. I need to cut the price, because the homeowner is ultimately looking at what's my down payment going to be? What's my monthly mortgage going to be? And then now they're having to include the fact that we've seen a major uptick in property tax. And so somebody's got to budge, and it's not going to be interest rates. So prices are coming down, which is, again, it's a good thing. It's going to relieve the pressure. It's going to normalize the pricing. Mm-hmm. As much as people try to tell you that capitalization rates and price are not necessarily connected to interest rates, it's totally not true, because the valuation of real estate is directly correlated to inflation, which is directly correlated to low interest rates and excessive printing of money. Interest rates they for 20 years previously weren't above 5% on average. And so now we're sitting at nearly double that. And so what you could buy circa 2020 for, call it 600,000 or so, you can buy that same home would cost you $1 million now. Mm-hmm. So that's the difference. And then if you do have a good interest rate, you are in a home that you're happy with, you're probably not going to sell, right? Because where would you move? So you can see price discovery real clear when you're looking at the stock market, because you see the buyers and sellers coming in and transactions happening. That's the same thing that's happening here. It's just a lot slower. But again, it's a good sign, and it tells us that we are approaching the end of this, which everything's kind of aligning. Stock market's been up, but nothing, super drastic or crazy, which is always the case when you're going into an election year. And then we got potential shift in administration. And then all this commercial real estate debt is going to be coming to maturity in 2025.
Right.
We've been stuck in this market for about 2 years. So timing wise is appropriate, and we'll see how it plays out. I don't know if it necessarily stimulates more home buying, because the prices, I think, are still extreme.
Yeah, the media, one of the things it says in the article here, it says the drop in home prices comes during one of the most expensive housing markets in U.S. history. Mortgage rates remain close to 7%, and home prices in May hit an all-time high with a median price, I'm thinking this is nationwide, at $419,300.
Yep. So for perspective, I always anchor on this, but the median home price in 1987 was $87,000. So it's drastically higher nationally.
Yeah.
Some markets are going to be at the extreme of that bell curve.
Yeah. Well, we see we just down the street from us, Denver, Colorado is one of the highest. That's along with Tampa and Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Those are usually the ones that get the biggest whipsaw too when the market does correct. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
So any advice for the person out there working the job, for one of our business owner listeners that's trying to get that home?
Be patient.
Be patient.
Yeah. The market will set you up for a better opportunity.
Let's go. All right. Elon Musk, everyone's favorite entrepreneur, depending on what side of the aisle you're on.
Yeah.
So Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson, they started releasing clips of the interview that they did together. It started floating around yesterday. And Elon's, this one has like a low view count of just under 9,000, but the original ones that are floating around from people like Colin Rugg are already in the tens and 20s of millions. And let's check out what Elon has to say, and then we're also going to look at some of the things going on with the business and Tesla and supporters. And it's just a very interesting. We're starting to learn a lot about this guy and how he thinks and how he operates. It's not like he's hidden; it's hidden, but we're starting to learn, give more context and color to why he operates the way he does.
It happened to one of my older boys, where I was essentially tricked into signing documents for one of my older boys, Xavier. This was before I had really any understanding of what was going on, and we had COVID going on, and so there was a lot of confusion. I was told, Xavier might commit suicide if he did.
That was a lie right from the outset.
Incredibly evil, and I agree with you that people that have been promoting this should go to prison.
That's
so I
personal
was tricked into doing this, it wasn't explained to me that puberty blockers are actually just sterilization drugs. Anyway, and so I lost my son essentially. They call it dead naming for a reason.
Yeah,
all right. So the reason it's called dead naming is because your son is dead. So my son Xavier is dead, killed by the woke mind virus.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that would be like.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and there's lots of people in that situation now.
Right.
It's not pretty, and lots of demolished kids.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's a good reason to be the final straw. All right, so let's.
So I vowed to destroy the woke mind virus after that. And we're making some progress.
We're making some progress.
Wow.
Join the club.
Yeah.
That is a very significant piece of content in the sense that, all of the people that were criticizing his acquisition of Twitter, various different things. Patrick Bet-David posted recently, he posed a question to the guys on the pod. He said, can you imagine what the last couple of weeks would have been like if we didn't have X the way in the state that it's in? Correct. It's like.
Yeah, he bought it intentionally to have the platform to prevent this from happening right now.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I love to see it. And
I could feel the anguish and pain that he was feeling.
And it's hard. You have to watch his eyes, right? Because he doesn't do a lot of, his tone doesn't change a lot when he speaks.
But he looks down in a way. You can tell he's
very
introspective.
Very much so.
Trying to control his emotion.
Yeah, and so that gives a lot of color just to how he thinks, why he did what he did. Obviously rooted in speculation still, but there is some additional color there. There was one piece that I wanted to feature. We won't necessarily look at it, but it was just basically showing that Democrats are supporting Tesla less now that he came out.
In support of Trump with $45 million a month.
Yeah. And so actually, thank you, C-Rock, you pulled it up. But it came by way of Yahoo Finance, and I just want to highlight this one piece in it. It says, new data from analytics from Civic Sciences show Tesla's favorability among Democrats has dropped to 16% as of July 16 compared to 39% in January. Among Republicans, the data shows favorability decreased, it would actually be increased, to 23% from 36% in the same period. Civic Science CEO John Dick tells Yahoo Finance, its data has shown consistently that Democrats more closely than Republicans associate Elon Musk and his actions with the brand. Well, if you scroll down, C-Rock, to these two graphs, we can see here that Tesla's favorability is going up with conservative and Republicans, and obviously going down with liberals and Democrats in light of him supporting Trump. But then if you actually scroll down a little bit further, this piece right here, you can see that for the most part, Republicans have stayed very consistent with him, despite, the ups and downs and decisions and things. But look at the swings with the independents.
The key being the independents.
Yeah. And so ultimately, why I bring it up is because it doesn't really matter what they do. the way this guy operates and has built his company and where Americans are and moving and shifting, it doesn't really matter. We want to see people like that win.
Right.
Like we want to see people like that win. And we want to see business owners like you guys listening out there who are, whatever it is that you're standing on, if it's good, noble, and true, and we can get behind it, we want to see you win, And because, I don't know, thinking about the sun, thinking about all these things, in the podcast format, we give a lot of commentary and thoughts on people and decisions. But at the end of the day, man, we want to see people that are doing good things, righteous, noble, honorable things win.
Well, the thing that's unique about what he's done with the open forum on Twitter is he has, more conservative people that are constantly telling him to shut down these other more liberal opposing views.
He doesn't.
And refuses to do that because his whole point is if we get to a place where we're only hearing one side of the story, then we have a severe problem. And it doesn't matter what side of the table you sit on. So that's an interesting perspective. And I think the one that we need the most because media in general is very biased. Yeah. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so.
So on that note, this is a piece that came out from Larry Fink. If you guys know who Larry Fink is, aka, BlackRock, they have...
He's a Don Dada.
Yeah, they have trillions of dollars of assets under management. And Larry Fink was vehemently against Bitcoin, calling it a farce, yada, yada, yada. I saw the post now that came out this last week. Neil Jacobs from Swan Bitcoin actually posted it where Larry Fink is just touting Bitcoin. So let's play that. And then I want to give some commentary on that about why this really pisses me off.
As you know, I was a skeptic. Yes. I was a proud skeptic. And I studied it, learned about it, and I came away saying, okay, my opinion 5 years ago was wrong. Here's my opinion today. This is what I believe in today. I believe the opportunity today. I believe Bitcoin is legitimate. I'm not trying to say there's not misuses like everything else, but it is a legitimate financial instrument that allows you to have maybe uncorrelated, non-correlated type of returns. I believe it is an instrument that you invest in when you're more frightened, though. It is an instrument when you believe that countries are debasing their currency, debasing their currency by excess deficits, and some countries are. I believe we have countries where you're frightened of your everyday existence, and if you have an opportunity to invest in something that is outside your country's control, then you can have more financial control. And so I'm a major believer that there is a role for Bitcoin in portfolios. I believe you're going to see that as
So here's what pisses me off about that. If you guys have ever watched the movie The Big Short, everybody who was actually on the street living in the trenches of the financial crisis, there's a great video floating around by Peter Schiff where he's getting laughed off of all these major news networks. He's saying that this is the hugest housing bubble we've ever seen. The whole thing's going to fall apart. And they basically said, Peter, you're an idiot. You know nothing, yada, yada, yada. The media was being leveraged to benefit these large institutional banks to get on the right side of the trade, meaning they weren't all like, oh my gosh, this is a bubble, until all of a sudden they had offloaded all their bad debt to, there's a saying in stock trading that the market always needs another sucker. Mm-hmm. And so they weren't agreeing with that or even believing that that was true until they were on the wrong side of the right side of the trade. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what they did with Bitcoin. Larry Fink will push out as much fear, uncertainty, and doubt as possible, which drives the price down in an attempt to go in and be snatching it up. So they've been snatching up Bitcoin for years now until they're on the right side of the trade. And then all of a sudden it's the greatest thing ever. Dude. So you have to do a better job as an American population of thinking for yourself, right?
Right.
Now, the positive to that is now that they said Bitcoin is good, we're probably going to start to see some pretty mass adoption of it. So this isn't investing advice, but this might be the cheapest it'll ever be for the next 25, 30 years until there's no more Bitcoin.
Yeah. For me, what's really frustrating about that is I can think of all the conversations I've been a part of, threads I've read, and the constant skepticism towards all the things, like everything he said has been said by millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people already, what it can do.
Right.
With fear and instability and uncertainty and currency, and all of these things have already been said. And the intentional downplaying of these things, that really angers me, man. Like I hadn't seen this clip. And when I was hearing him position himself as sympathetic and borderline empathetic with others who are feeling these things about your country and your currency, and it's now viable for that, it's like, bro.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I think that they're maybe setting up for, and we talked about this last week on the last week's pod, is they may be setting up to start backing the US dollar by Bitcoin. And if that happens and that becomes the reserve for US dollars, that's pretty, it's pretty wild. It's pretty crazy to think that. So, but in the comments, a guy that I'm connected with, we were kind of exchanging some notes, and he made a comment. The way he posted it was pretty powerful. Maybe you can pull that back up. Yeah. But his name's Nick Elders. He runs a great company called Spark Lending. And he said, privatize the gains, socialize the losses. Good strategy if you can pull it off. BlackRock's definitely one of those. But my response to that, and if you guys have been following the podcast long enough, Nick and I connect because we're both in that world of like SBA lending and helping people buy businesses. And I said, this is what pisses me off the most and why I'm so passionate about SBA financing, because for the middle-class person, the mid-career professional who's been doing everything right, investing in their 401k, getting a good job, trying to outpace inflation, that's becoming harder and harder and harder and harder. And your wealth is getting inflated away. The SBA program and the financing for the SBA might be one of the biggest competitive advantages or opportunities that we have in the middle class to build real wealth by buying a business at really great leverage and really favorable rates and really favorable terms. And so I've become disillusioned with the stock market, stock investing. I'm a huge fan of Bitcoin. I'm a very big fan of buying privately held companies, investing in privately held companies, operating privately held companies, because I feel like the stock market is a rigged casino. Not to say you shouldn't have some diversification, but man, if you're listening to this and you're wanting to be an entrepreneur, or you're an entrepreneur and you're thinking about how to expand, bolt on, grow, et cetera, you need to learn about the SBA.
I mean, leave it at that. The middleman, the middle class, and the normal person, that's the person who always loses in this stuff.
100%.
And
because you make too much money to get the government programs, but too little to keep up with inflation.
That and your own fear too, because there are people that have, like you said, people have been shouting this from the mountaintops of their feeds and everything else. Go look at it for yourself. Go look at it for yourself. Go look at it for yourself. And now, he's like, I was a skeptic. And actually, months ago, we could see that you had Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So it's
I needed time to do my research and buy as much as I possibly could at the cheapest
time to
possible.
keep suppressing your interest.
Right.
Yeah. Oh man, what a shame. But like you said, now's the time.
Right.
The way the game is still structured around Bitcoin is there are no gatekeepers.
Right.
So
now's the time.
Yeah. That's good. Well, we got a couple more stories. I wanted to talk about this one with the Secret Service director, but we don't need to. She resigned today. News came out that she was resigning today. There was a clip that was just an example of bad leadership. We won't even play it, but she said, I have the timestamps. And then she said, but it doesn't have specifics. It's like, well, then they're not timestamps. But so just do not lead that way. Take accountability, own it. But the last thing we'll close out here is this clip that didn't go as viral as it should have, I think, of a gentleman or a person being denied service at a local Subway due to wearing something that had a Christian apparel of some kind. I'm getting.
Are you
older,
refusing
man.
to serve customers?
Thank you, brother.
She's refusing to serve us. She just said she's refusing to serve us. What are you talking about? This girl right here just said she's refusing to serve us. So we have to go somewhere else? I want her to say it again. I just. I'm refusing your service. Okay. And this is Subway where? Why are you refusing service? That is a personal matter. Because of my T-shirt? Because of my T-shirt? Yes. Okay. Sure, Subway Corporal, I'd love to hear that. Are you refusing to serve customers?
Because of a T-shirt. Fire her immediately.
You gotta love it.
You gotta love it, man. Like,
if I don't agree with you, then you must be against me.
Yeah. Like the persecution is coming for Christians. The persecution is coming for the Jew. It just is. We can go to that on a different pod and separate videos and conversations, but it's very clear for many reasons. But the Jew and the Christian will definitely become two of the most hated people,
100%
here in the West. So
I'm ready.
And so are many of you. And so with that said, if you got value out of today's pod, give us a like, give us a review, give us a share, do something that let us know that you're getting value from this. Feedback, emails, you can find us online. But we make this for you as we are walking the same path as you are, navigating the ever-changing landscape of entrepreneurship.
You bet.
And so until next time, take care.
Peace.